All right. What is up? From the same house. The same exact view. Just kidding. We got the stats, man. The historian. Which is going to be relevant for today's episode. We've got Jack Bauer. Jack, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Matt, but we're missing someone.
I was going to say,
three people on this.
And we've got Wisconsin's 17th fastest high school female miler, except for we don't. Where's BK? We don't know. He was supposed to be here today. He said he could do this time. I sent a calendar invite. So if you know BK and you listen to this, DM him. Dude just ghosted us.
He set the time.
Ghosted. He set the time. Dude ghosted us. And we're going to hold out hope that he's going to pop on. But if not, it's fine. The boys have got it. The boys have got it. Jack, how was your weekend, man?
It was pretty solid overall. I have been doing what any good HYROX athlete will do, hitting the trails, because there are a lot of trails out on the course. But no, I've just been kind of I have a couple weeks left until Atlanta solo race and had a couple of longer efforts. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go on the trails. VJ wanted to do it, and it's just kind of invigorating to get out there. You know, we spend a lot of time indoors. Getting outside every once in a while, it feels good.
Nice, dude. You say you're locked in for Atlanta. Is that gonna be a solo?
Oh yeah, first solo. I did Chicago 2023 and kind of messed up my hip flexor there, so I was hoping that I'd have a good result there. But nah, this is the race to break that sub 73-minute curse that for some reason has happened a few races in a row. ROX opt, they said 68:14 for my
Just putting it out there.
Expect that. No. I messaged John and I basically said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be taking some of your money. So I'm putting it out there. I'm going to beat that by multiple minutes.
Dude, I hope that you do. I'm ready for you to smash, man. I'm ready for you to smash. Yeah. So you're going to be in Atlanta. You got your race brain stickers?
Oh, right here. They're always within arm's length.
Let's go.
They're never out of
reach. So funny thing about that is I'm moving and I found my other box. So there was somehow like a mistake with the stickers, and I got 2 boxes of them. I have 15,000 race brain stickers.
Is that an exaggerated number or real?
I don't know that it's exaggerated. I mean, dude, I've got a full box of stickers, and I already had a full box of stickers from last time. I mean, I'm not good at these kind of estimation things, but each sleeve is hundreds of stickers. So I definitely have thousands I have probably 4 or 5 times as many stickers as we have listeners. So if you see any of us, specifically me and Jack at a race, let us know. We'll get you them stickers.
I'm thinking this is probably 3-4 inches tall. I would say at least 250 stickers in there. So yeah, if the quantity that you got, I believe it, you're in the thousands.
It's a full box, dude. It's a full box. Rich is going to listen to this and be like, dude, I ordered them. I know how many they are. But I got multiple boxes. They made a mistake. They made a mistake. All right. On today's show, we're gonna talk about HYROX through the years. We're gonna give a little history of HYROX and get into it. But before we do, we had racing this weekend. Multiple races this weekend. We're gonna start down in the land of Morgan Wallen. I only said that because we had DecaFit Knoxville this week, and Morgan Wallen loves Knoxville, is a big Tennessee Volunteers fan. We had racing. This doesn't make any sense, but these races did not count for Deca Worlds, which is happening in 2 months' time. These are for next season. So, Jack, this was the first race of next season, correct?
Nailed it. I mean, we're kind of used to weird calendars, realistically. HYROX World Championship in June, roughly. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. If your championship is in December, you'd kind of think that would roll over to the next year.
Yeah, no doubt. My internet's also freaking out, Jack. So if I freeze, just let me know. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But we had racing, and we had some big names on the men's side. Top 5 men. We had Colin Stiefer down there with Team Reach at 30:25. Second place, Nick Riker, 31:09. What's the Riker line again when it comes to fit?
when it comes to Decafit, he's been on a world championship podium. I think back-to-back years, actually. He is certainly below or above.
That's not the question, though. What's the Riker line at? What's his
Oh,
time?
I mean, he's run like 29:40 or something in the past, but I would say like the Riker line between like good and pretty good is probably like 32 minutes on the guy's side.
All right, so he's below the Riker line. Then
By a
in
good
third
margin.
place, rounding out your podium, we had Mark Gaudet with the 33:48, rounding out your top 5. Dustin Needham 34:03, and Samuel Rao 34:12. On the women's,
Kevin Gregory, just to interrupt real quick, he was live streaming. If you want to watch any of the race coverage, doing some commentary. He's a funny guy. Kevin, on his live stream, Nick and Colin got off the air bike within like a second of each other, so that 30 seconds was all in the final 3 zones.
Sounds like Steeper can finish. These are, I mean, that time should solidify Colin for next season, right? I mean,
yeah. Usually it's
only
like
people faster,
31.5, 31 high. We'll
yeah, I was gonna say the only
20th.
Who are the only people faster right now? Kent, Grayson,
Tom Rogers for sure.
Tom Rogers
the leaderboard, but I mean, I would say 30-20 something might be. All right, I've literally got it right here. Isaac Sanderson, he ran 30 flat.
BK's calling me back right now. That's probably him telling me that he forgot. I'm not going to answer that.
No,
boys,
we gotta get him on.
Mail.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let's see what he says. A little race brain special for you.
Tell me he's live.
Hey, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're live on the pod. Are you coming?
I am. Is the link in the email?
Yeah. I'll get it to you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Now that is the definition of first time caller, long time listener.
I can't even roast him. He literally, when he leads off with "I'm so sorry,"
yeah,
what am I going to do?
Bracken's a reputable man. Like when he screws up, he'll own it. He'll own up to it. But sometimes your schedule just gets out of whack. He's got kids. He probably got back from school a little late. It happens.
Like probably karting.
Yeah. No, karting season's done.
Is it?
Yes.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah, he just said it on Running Public a week or two ago. It's over.
Well, he posted this weekend. We'll have to ask him when he joins, but he posted this weekend that he said, "I never imagined that this was going to be my life."
Yeah.
And he had 2 carts completely taken apart.
His garage does not exist for his minivan anymore.
Yeah. So we'll see what he says when he hops on. But yeah, shout out to Colin Steefer. That's a serious time. Let's break down those splits just for funsies here. His run total 1741, 1243 for the stations. Not bad. No Lauren Weeks, but pretty good.
1741. Colin, I think, kind of has a reputation of only being like a station guy. That's where he's making up his ground. But he's had a couple of impressive performances recently in Decafit where I think his last 2 races he was well under 18. So he's got wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Didn't wait, if I remember correctly, didn't Colin
man.
Oh, there he is.
That guy.
Ladies and gents, we got the man. The 17th fastest high school women's miler in Wisconsin. BK is on the show. BK, how we doing?
I'm embarrassed.
It's fine. BK, we're just gonna go right into it. Is karting season over? Because Jack says it's over, but I just saw an Instagram post for you that your garage looked like a full-blown mechanic shop on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. So his competition season is over, but there's still 2 weeks left of the track being open, and there's an optional race. But he's at the next year he bumps up an age division, so they go to the full-size vehicles. So we got a new one of those to sell the other one to replace it. And then I found a better option. So I got that one, but we haven't sold any of the others yet. So now I just have a full garage of it. And we got to get out for some testing, see which one will rip more, and then get rid of the inventory.
BK is a karting dad. All right, BK, to get you up to speed, we just recapped the DecaFit Knoxville. Your top 5 finishers were Colin Stiefer, Nick Riker, Mark Gaudet, Dustin Needham, and Samuel Rao. We were talking about Stiefer, who ran a 30:25 with a 17:41 5K and a 12:43 strong. And I was about to ask Jack, if I memory serves me, didn't Stiefer, wasn't like a photo finish in the strong last year?
Mm-hmm.
So I
got
mean,
that title.
He got that title. He got that title. Yeah.
So
17
for our intro to HYROX through the years, we talked Deca.
Well, we were filling the time until our third host decided to show up.
We did have racing this weekend, so we were recapping.
Just to be clear, I was waiting at the Google Meet for like 12 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Tooling around on my phone. No one else is in the meeting. You'll be let in when the host arrives.
Okay.
I forget that it sends a Google Meet link with the invite, whether you use it or not.
Yeah, I probably need to figure out how to turn that off because I can see how that's confusing.
And I have no brain capacity anymore.
That's fine. It's fine. We got on the women's side, we had Amy Umble 38:28, Molly Genlin 39:06, Allie Barker 43:40, Cassandra Boyd 44:31, and rounding out your top 5 women, Jessica Parr 46:31. On to the HYROX races this weekend. We had HYROX Valencia. We're going to switch it up. We're going to go women first. Manuela Garcia Caparros ran a 64:52. Tanya Strohschneider ran a 66:06. Leonora Neto Camilio ran a 67:18. Alana Falconer 68:03. Sandra Dominguez 68:09. Those do not impact your top 15 times. Manuela is on the cusp, but 64:52. That is not going to cut it right now. You need to be like 62 low to 61 high to upset the rankings. So we're going to get over to the men's side where we did have the rankings get upset. Your fastest time on the weekend, the young lad, Charlie Bottrell with a 56:24, Tomasz Tverdik 57:54, John Wynn 58:14, Sam Schumann 59:40, and rounding out your top 5, Pedro Antonio Toro Leva with a 59:59. It is worth noting that Charlie Bottrell ran twice. He ran back-to-back days, which I don't care if you're 22 or not, or 23 or however he is, doesn't make any sense, but whatever, more power to him. His second race, he also would have been in the top 5. I think he was like 58 mid to 58 high. Jack, BK, your thoughts?
Well, we said about a month ago, if you get on a heater, there is a world where it makes sense to try to get a qualifier in the same little fitness peak window. And I'm not saying he's peaked, but Charlie's on a heater and he took care of all his business. He wiped it out. He's good.
He is certainly on a heater. If you add in his, if you add in Hamburg, which was what, only 2 weeks ago, he ran a solo there and they ran a doubles and he's run 3 elite races he's run 4 pro races in 3 weeks.
And traveled.
And done well.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say that Rooster's got to come home at some point, but
is that a Wisconsin saying?
Is that what's it? Something's got to come home to roost.
The rooster turns into a chicken.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to come home to roost at some point. But I mean, he's young. It's like Rich said in the group thread, like these young guys, it just doesn't seem to affect them in the same way as it does everybody else. But he is now firmly in. I'm going to go check really quick. I'm pretty sure because he had a 54 mid and then that 56. Oh yeah, he's now 11th for Melbourne, and he said he's going. So his average time is 55:36. So he is clear by almost 40 seconds. So he's not going. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. I guess that does beg one question before we get into HYROX through the years. This would seem to defy conventional wisdom. Right? Like we don't see like endurance athletes stacking races like this, but I guess in your all's opinion, like given that, most people are just racing threshold, like if your recovery is on point, can you just do this? Are there no consequences of this?
Oh, I mean, you don't see 60-minute endurance events run with frequency like this. People will go run a mile or a 5K every week for 6 straight weeks or whatever.
Golden Trails or not Golden Trail, the
Or-
Diamond League. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're just
high
doing
school
that.
or college cross country. But this is different. And HYROX is this strange beast where, like, yeah, you are kind of racing at threshold, but its recovery demands are far above threshold. And the actual damage of the exercises to you are well beyond what threshold would be. So I can't really explain it other than really good fitness, really good resiliency, and being young.
Yeah. Look, I'm rooting for the lad. I really
Yeah.
am. I'm rooting for him. I mean, there are some people that like, I mean, Dylan's a perfect example. It's kind of funny to me that Dylan did the 10,000 10K, or that was, in Dylan's words, a 10,000 8.1K, and then said he was going to be done racing for a while. And then I saw that he did a full sim with Pelkifer on Saturday, and then he's doing the LT games next week, and then he's racing Atlanta. So if that's Dylan's version of pulling back, fair play.
It
But
is,
there's
though,
some,
Dylan.
there are some, but that's what I'm saying though. There's like, it doesn't make sense, but there are people doing it. Like JK's not doing it as much anymore because he is down in Australia, and so he just doesn't have the opportunities afforded to him that others did. But we saw this whenever he was trying to break into the Elite 15. Some people are just able to race and race and race. I guess the question I'm asking is Meg made the point on a podcast a week ago about how you only have so much, like if you race, in theory, it knocks you out for a while because you've got to taper into it, and then it takes a week or two to recover. So you really lose a couple weeks of training, and you can only peak so many times in a year. And that's probably true for the average person. But then there's people like Charlie who are able to, he did a workout the morning of the Elite 15 doubles race, for an hour. And then he was back to working out the next day. And then here he is 2 weeks later popping off. I mean, his second time of the weekend, which was 24 hours later, was still like 58 low to mid. Like he almost took out Win twice.
Yeah. We always ask ourselves, are they doing this because of it or despite? And this is absolutely despite. Like, people can do this and get away with it and do very well, but this certainly isn't his peak. Like Meg's talking about priming and peaking and recovering and doing it systematically. And what this man is doing is not his peak. If you can repeat it, which he's essentially done 3 times, right? He's run 3 races that we could consider, if you put him in Jack's butt, they're all probably worth about the same performance, plus or minus like 35 seconds, I would guess. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it couldn't possibly be his peak because he's repeated it 3 times. That's not what a peak is. So certainly he can go faster than this. And so what we will find out is this the best batch of racing we'll see this season because it'll catch up? Or does he have something bigger in store for us later? And this is really not yet racing all out.
It's hard to think that it's going to catch up to him. This is the same man who did 8 races in a weekend. There are some people who are just genetic freaks and are outliers, and maybe Charlie is the outlier. I think, to your point, time will tell. But hats off to him. He's now firmly in, and good guy. Seems like a good guy at least. So wishing him the best of the luck. All right, let's get into the topic at hand, which is HYROX through the years. We realize this thing is blown up. A lot of people don't realize that this started way back in 2017. It's taken it a while to land mass appeal, but we are here. And so we figured for some of our new listeners, we'd take a look back in time, kind of how we got here. So I've got a couple questions for you all, our esteemed panel, because BK and Jack have been around the block. They've been here. A lot of you don't know this. Bracken was an elite athlete. He's an elite athlete in the OCR hybrid space. And
multiple time North American champion in HYROX, by the way.
Hey, some say that he's on the all-time list for OCR to this day. It doesn't matter if he's sliding backwards. He's not. I think he's solidified at this point. OCR is dead. So he's
not sliding forwards. That's for sure.
All right. Okay. So here's my first question for you all. I'd be curious for your perspective. So HYROX started in Hamburg 2017, I believe, was the first time or iteration that they did this. Back then, CrossFit was at its probably as close to its peak, if not right at its peak or getting close to its peak. And Spartan was still hot. So there was, OCR was coming around. Mud running was huge. CrossFit was huge. I'd like you all to put your time capsules, get in your time capsules. Could you guys have imagined that HYROX, like what were your thoughts about HYROX at the time? And could you have ever imagined that it was going to wind up being this big?
Everything was a flash in the pan back then. It was Spartan Race, and then it was everything else. And we kept running into these fitness competitions that would pop up and put on one, sometimes two, and then they'd be gone. And so all athletes were used to doing is realizing that there's money to be made here. I'm going to quick sharpen up for this event, but I'm not going to put too much time into it because it's not going to be around this time next year. And we all looked at HYROX as that very thing. It was going to be the next Ultimate Athlete Games or the next Battle Frog or Bone Frog, or is going to be the next, whatever you want to call it, that thing that came out and did something for either a race or a year or two and then was gone.
So were you all even aware of this in 2017? Because the first race was Miami 2019, right?
Well, the
No,
first
Vegas.
ever race
world champ.
Yeah, it was in Leipzig in 2018. That's the first race that has a result, a standard race. I think the concept came out in 2017 as you were describing, but the first actual race that's on their website is Leipzig 2018.
Okay, so Leipzig 2018, so not far off. So
actually, happy anniversary. It was on October 20th. Today.
Here we go.
7 years.
All right. So the first American race was the Vegas Championship.
Yes.
No, Miami 2019.
I thought it was Miami 2019.
Nope. Prior to that, Lucas Storath was the world champion of fitness based off a race run in Las Vegas at a convention hall that no one in the US knew about. There's footage of it. He had world champion of fitness in his Instagram profile prior to the Miami race, which is where the world record, that between that and Leipzig or whatever, they'd already set what the world best was. But there had already been a race on US soil that was as much of a showcase or an expo event as it was an actual race. But Lucas Storath raced there.
Well, Lucas, he had in 2019, Oberhausen. That is listed as a world championship, and that was in April 2019. So maybe that's the race that he was claiming that from.
Could have been. There was that European one where they crowned it. He and Viola.
Mm-hmm.
Viola, was that her name?
Imke.
No. Imke Salander.
Yeah.
Not Salander. We had too many MKs in the sport. Imke Salander. And then there was also a Vegas event prior to Miami, but it wasn't even a real event. No one knew about it. Miami, they announced big prize money, a podium bonus essentially, but for a world record bonus on top of that. And they reached out and invited a ton of people and then had people that applied to get into this. And they had it at this giant expo where CrossFit themselves were doing a big deal as well. A who's who of fitness was at this place, and every US OCR athlete thought they were going to come in and win it and set the world record. And our quote even was like, it's not if you set the world record, it's who sets it the fastest, because 5 to 8 people all assume they're going to break the world record at the time. And
everybody thought Matt Fraser, who was there, was going to know their name after that race. Right, Bracken?
Everybody. First time seeing Matt Fraser in person. It was a big event. That the who's who were there.
Okay, and so let's go to that Miami race then, because to your point, BK, you all thought, hey, this is another thing. It's gonna be a flash in the pan, whether or not it has staying power. When you all were in that venue for that Miami race, that very first race, and you finished it, did you think that it was going to turn into what it did today?
No, not a chance. They gave away too much money, and it didn't make sense to me yet, the concept. What our history had shown us is that any race or competition that shows up in their main advertisement, the main way to draw eyes and athletes to register is through prize purse, that it wasn't sustainable. We knew that Spartan and Tough Mudder made it work because they got the open waves to come in. And HYROX didn't have a huge open wave at the time, but they just put on crazy money for what we were used to. And we knew that's not sustainable because you can't get people to come in for that. So we knew it wasn't going to work.
If you want to guess how many Non-pro weight, just open wave, men and women there were at this first Miami race. How many do you think?
450.
280.
There were 33 women and 63
No.
men. I don't know. That's open wave. I'm gonna look at pro after, but I remember it being pretty sparse, and that was the theme for a while with the US. But I definitely agree with what Bracken's been saying. I think it was more than 8 people. I think there were like 20 people who were like, I am going to destroy this world record. Everyone, they just put their treadmill up. They saw how much the sleds weighed and did it on their random turf. They didn't have good wall ball form. Burpees were atrocious. And, you know, got away with everything in their own testing. And everybody thought like 52 minutes was going to happen. I think I tried it and I was 59 or 60. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a piece of cake.
BK, what were some of the sim times you were hearing back in the day?
I ran 56:30 in training, and that was in Hoka Clifton's. I was like, I'm running 319 to 322 per K. The stuff's not difficult. We were used to preparing for OCR demands. Where like a 2,000 foot climb might be 1,500, it might be 3,000. Prepare for a double sandbag carry, might be there, might not. If it is there and you do other functional fitness, you can get by being ready for it. So we cobbled together our sims. I used 2 5-gallon water jugs as my farmer's carry. Like, this is enough. I'll strap a wrist weight around me. It was like 50 pounds, probably 49, 50 pounds I had going on there. I'm like, this is enough. That'll be fine. I guesstimated distances. My sleds weren't close. I didn't have a ski erg, so I did arms only assault bike instead and approximated. I had a whatever kind of dead ball I was using that wasn't the actual weight, because you didn't have to be precise for OCR. You just had to be a phenomenal aerobic athlete with some grip strength. And so we all simmed and all got around the same like 53 to 57 minute time. And we're like, we're set. We're going to crush this. Not realizing that, no, these Germans are very specific about their movements and their weights. And it's going to be way worse than you can imagine.
Do you remember seeing that video Lucas put out, and he was doing wall balls with like a medicine ball, not a wall ball, but like one of those condensed medicine balls, throwing it against like a field goal post. And everyone was like, what is this? This is so stupid. We're going to destroy him. And then he showed up and I gave everybody the business.
Well, we had seen it before, right? These big jacked guys can put out on exercises, but when the rubber meets the road, they can't run. And they go out too hard and they fade, and our strength in aerobic capacity carries us through. So we looked at him and we saw, like, we know you over here. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we didn't take him seriously at all. We knew he was going to go out fast and burn out, especially when we saw him run the first K. We're like, oh, he's done. This is going to be easy money. Lisa and I we rarely get ahead of ourselves with like prize money because we know how sketchy OCR is. We're already planning what we're going to do with the money.
309.
And
what'd you run that day?
K.
309 opening K. I chilled. Me and Kent, we roomed together that weekend. We just chilled the first K and ran like 322 or something like that. And I ran 117.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that a 309 opening, or so you were 318 was your opening K. That's chilling.
I was trying, and it was probably short, right? But
yeah, maybe. Possibly.
Lucas gapped I'm setting the tone. Crazy. I'm the man. Hunter didn't go with it. Like it was the Lucas show in that opening 1,000.
Yeah, and then the thing that people don't realize is that was back in the day of the big boy sleds. It was 25 meters down and back. BK, what was that like?
The push made us realize, like, oh, this is heavier than not heavier, slipperier, and the sleds I practiced with were heavy, but they weren't slippery. And this was really tough to get traction, but we get through the push and it's like, okay, the worst is done. We don't do sled push in OCR, but we do plate drag. We do pull. Grip strength is our thing. We'll be fine on pull. And then we're going to run everyone down after that. Like, I can burpee broad jump with anyone. We can lunge all day. Like, wall balls, how hard could that be? We thought it was now entering our wheelhouse. And we got to this pull. And the 25-meter sled pull is a different animal. because all the slack that you have to take out of the 12.5 meter is what's waiting for you after you've already done 12.5 meters of slack work. Like it's hard to, it's exponentially harder. It's not just double the pull. It is exponentially harder. And I got it down and people are leaving. Like I already can't feel my fingers and people are heading out on the run. And then it just hit like, we've made a terrible mistake. We were wrong.
Yeah. Bracken, you went 646. I went 628 on our sled pull. Right.
Yeah.
And I like walked out of there. I was like, it's over. I have such good grip strength. I have none left. I can't even unzip my pockets to get my fuel at this point. It was that, in my opinion, having the 25-meter sleds, reducing them to the 12.5 meter sleds may have been the single biggest differentiator in HYROX history for the trajectory of performance.
I think it's tied with athletes figuring out how to train and getting different athletes in.
It was
like,
such
I
a
will
game
take
changer.
nothing away from the current athletes. They are so much better than everyone who towed the line that day. But
so
that
I don't want
25-meter sled pull broke souls.
It did. You could see it in the times. So I guess my question for you all is, and this is not a history of Hunter McIntyre. This is a HYROX of the years. But my question would be, the outlier to me is Hunter ran a 60 that day, which beat everybody handedly. The next closest person was Isaiah Vidal with over 3 minutes behind. Lucas was 4 minutes behind. Kent was 6 minutes behind. This was
Isaiah,
Hunter's.
He went unbroken on wall balls.
I believe he entered the wall balls in 4th or 5th, and he just went unbroken.
Yeah.
So why was Hunter so much better suited for it back then, coming from the same background as the rest of you than everyone else?
Because he didn't come from our same background. He just ran the same races we did.
And if I'm not mistaken, 2019 was the year he did CrossFit Games also. So this was like within a few months of Hunter strong.
Yeah. He was already the biggest, strongest guy there who did the most, outside of Isaiah, did the most functional fitness work. And Isaiah was big at the time, big, because he was getting into CrossFit big time. So he couldn't run anymore, but he was strong. And those guys went 1-2. And Isaiah was out of it until wall balls and just crushed everyone. As like Kent got in there, I think 3rd going into wall balls or something like that. And then we couldn't do wall balls, but Hunter was just big, strong Hunter, functionally fit Hunter. And Lucas went out too hard. And Hunter could sustain that. Because if OCR did nothing else, is we could all run while we were tired.
Yeah.
Hunter was set.
Because they basically had the same run time. Hunter was 3:48, Kent was 3:50, but Hunter just stationed 6 minutes faster. So that makes sense. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about. Oh, Jack, you got a point on that?
I was just gonna say, and this wasn't just all the men showing up. Lauren Weeks showed up, and she ended up running a 71:50, and now she's close to 15 minutes faster than that. It's just incredible the difference that it's made. We had Faye Stenning in that race get 3rd place. Corinna Coffin, who from the OCR side, she was a former CrossFit Games team athlete, but she was kind of viewed as the functional fitness athlete who can run. So there were some heavy hitters on the women's side.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, so we just covered what was different. So the sleds were 25 meters. Everything else was basically the same as it is now. Although the sleds originally back then were even lighter than they are today, right? Because they eventually added weight.
They were lighter and the carpet was worse. So I think it kind of evened out.
Well, and it was longer. So, I mean, there's that. But for the most part, the race.
I shouldn't say the carpet was worse. It wasn't uniform.
Yeah. Was it 20 pounds
pulling up everywhere and different types of carpet in some lanes?
Some people had cord in their lane, like taped under, and it's like now you have a speed bump in your sled push
like an
lane.
Audio or like an AV cord went through your lane, and now there's a roadblock.
Was it a 20-pound wall ball and 66-pound lunges?
Yep.
Okay.
And so in that first one, some people weren't doing wall balls good enough, so they gave the Home Depot bucket. Faye Stenning had that. Like, imagine seeing that these days. That would not go well.
Get that? Well, you do sometimes.
Not at the front though.
That's true. That's true. All right. So talk to me a little about the thing that keeps people coming back to HYROX these days is the vibe, the atmosphere. Obviously, they do a great job. We now know that every market has their own little things that they do differently. Like, having the MC and the start tunnel, that's US specific. I think they do some things with like the Red Bull zones over in UK. But what was the vibe like when you got done? Were you like, oh, this is something I want to do again, or were you like, this is stupid?
I mean, we were the wrong people to ask.
Yeah.
Ryan Kent and I just cried together in the parking lot.
No,
we could barely walk to the car together.
I'm not lying. Bracken and Ryan were sitting down against some wall, like outside of the finish line area. And I went over to talk to them and I'm like crippled, just waddling over to them, so sore. And I was like, how'd that go for you guys? And both of them were just like, just kind of speechless and just so sad that it didn't go well. I remember
we were
that.
like, what? It's terrible. We were war torn. Right? Yeah. We were shell shocked. We didn't know what had just happened other than we had just been utterly exposed and punished, and we were not ready. So no, I left there like, this is so stupid because the running doesn't even matter. The sleds take so long, you'll never get it back. This is not a smart layout. This isn't a good sport. That was our conversation. We were so embarrassed, but so like, this is so stupid. Why did we ever, like, this was fool's gold. This is dumb. And the event was cool, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a special atmosphere. And I got mad and I trained for Chicago, which was what, Jack? 11 weeks later?
November. So no, I don't even think it was. Oh wait,
10?
No, that might have been February back then.
11 weeks later.
Yeah. I was there.
And
also.
You walked into that place and you were like, oh, this could be something. They already had made a step forward in like for lack of better terms, like the vibe of the arena. The lights were dimmed. They had strobe lights going. They had big archways. They had a DJ. Like they had things of that in the first one, but it was too big. It was too open. It was too quiet. There weren't crowds. The second one, suddenly it went from that's really dumb to there's something special here.
But
they might know something.
But it wasn't like today's it's special. It was just like the production value got better, but the attendance wasn't good yet. And to us, for coming from the OCR side, we had seen that so many times, as you alluded to, Bracken. It's like, okay, well, you've got money. You can put on some fancy banners and have a really cool DJ show or whatever. But like 500 people are showing up. That's not going to be sustainable enough.
No, but there have been only a few OCR events throughout the years sprinkled around where you can feel electricity in the air. And you felt that here. And it's like, okay, I don't know if it's sustainable, but I feel that thing you feel when it's special. And that was the first day I thought, this could be interesting. I still didn't think it was going to turn into anywhere near what it is now, but you at least saw that there was, like, it had that it factor.
Yeah. Yeah, then it kind of rose from there, slowly but surely, definitely in the US. I mean, we started to see pretty decent appeal. I mean, what? UK started selling out races in 21, Jack? 22?
Yeah, probably 22. But the big thing actually that I was going to mention is shortly after, it was January 25th. I just looked it up, 2020. About a month later, the world kind of shut down. So we had Dallas, I want to say. There was that invitational race where they invited certain people. McGeady wasn't in that main heat, and he ended up getting second fastest time of the day or something. And they offered a bunch of prize money. But yeah, the world kind of shut down with COVID right after at that point. And it was like, oh man, HYROX like was starting to have a little bit of a snowball, like gaining some momentum. And then it's like no one's holding any events anywhere, not just in the US. So that was a really big shot to the momentum.
Yeah, especially when I would imagine OCR had a little bit of an advantage, not right when COVID hit, but just the fact that it's outdoors. So I imagine you all got back to racing OCR quicker than what we got back to racing hybrid.
In Florida, but
yeah, Florida.
Because COVID wasn't real in Florida, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't real.
No, we all had to wear masks at the start line, and then once they sent you off, once you ran under the arch, you got to take your mask off. So then it didn't count. Once you were above a certain respiration rate, you couldn't infect anyone.
This is not any kind of statement other than like I'm already looking back on those years and just being like, what the hell were we doing? It was weird.
We were
The whole thing was
listening.
great.
It's the last time that's going to happen in our country. Now no one
Yeah.
believes anyone. Like,
Yeah,
thanks,
it's about
thanks, COVID.
anything. Yeah, about
Yeah, that's the
anything.
last time we listened as a nation.
And I misspoke. That Dallas Invitational was actually April 2021, so about a year after COVID shut the world down. So there was a normal Dallas event. I remember Chris Woolley came over. I ran with him, stayed with him, but it was virtually after that race, within a week or two. That's when there were essentially no races on the calendar, except a random little event in Hamburg. Do you remember that? The Elite 12.
The Elite 12.
Wanna go over
Manual
that bracket?
treadmills. Tobias Ludwig.
Yeah. So 20 December 12th, 2020, they had an indoor invite only for the alleged 6 best athletes in HYROX at the time, except they kind of ignored a lot of people, but they flew Hunter, Lauren, a few others overseas and had an indoor, we're going to test you for COVID 10 times before, quarantine you, all that, indoor world championship with only 6 men and 6 women. And I want to say, yeah, only four of the 6 women finished. We had a dropout at the ski erg.
Yeah.
It was that was like something else. On the men's side, there were who'd they have? They had Hunter
Marcus
win.
Friesen.
Well, Hunter won that one.
Yeah, it was Hunter, Toby,
Lucas, Tobias.
Lucas. Yeah, and then they also had Marcus Friesen in there as well.
And Adam Klink, who had previously run a sub 5-minute mile and squatted 500 pounds, they figured that he was going to be the likely world champion. So let's invite him instead of other people like Ryan Kent. So.
Yeah. And
it was all Germans and Hunter is the moral of the story.
And the room was very small. Very and cool. They had your heart rate monitors on. It didn't work great, but they had a big projector up in front with the screen up there, and it showed different types of progress on there and heart rate. Like it was a cool event, and it laid the foundation for what would become the grid.
Yeah, that had to have been the switch where it's like we can do this on a condensed layout, because it was a big footprint in those early years with the 12 or 25 meter sled poles, and just you know how spread out it is now. Just expand that. But I do think that event changed the trajectory. It took a couple of years to end up implementing that at all the big races, but that was probably the moment where it's like, oh, we can do this on a smaller footprint.
I think it was also the moment that got all of North America to buy in that this is a sport now, because they realized they flew people over, they paid real money, they had actual production value there, they did things well, and now people wanted to be there. Instead of just, I think I could steal some money from this before it disappears, now it created something you wanted to be invited to. By making it exclusive, they got buy-in. And Spartan is very responsible, I believe, for what happened next. Spartan at this point was, people were becoming disenchanted with it. A, they were doing the same courses year after year after year. They're looking for something else. But B, these were the people that would have done HYROX in the beginning, but it didn't exist. There were a lot of just big, strong athletes who wanted the grit factor of OCR. And there was a community involved, and it was different, and there was nothing like it. But all the people who always thought it's too much running in OCR, or the weights are too light, and the only thing I could do was become really good at grip strength because that's the only way my power comes out in double sandbag carries, they now had something to do that their patron saint was glorified for doing. Like, Hunter's in it, we're in it. And then Ryan Kent, I believe, is the other thing to think. Like, he and Hunter started like a little rivalry going, carried over from OCR. And for a while, they went back and forth of who is the best in North America. And they both had big following from OCR, and their fanboys came over and started the sport as well. And suddenly it just had traction. So I believe Spartan, Kent, and Hunter are, like, not solely, but that triumvirate there, like, solely responsible for why it actually took hold in the US.
So there's 2 threads I want to pull on there, because I think you just touched on 2 things that are interesting. It makes sense as to why the elite field and the pro field has gotten to where it is, because we've talked about this before, like, Hunter has had a mass following. He's a fitness influencer, whether he would call himself that or not. He is. That drew people. Yeah, that drew people over. Kent draws people over. That makes sense as to why we've gotten kind of to where we've gotten from the pro side. But I guess one question I have for you is, how do you think it's built up such mass appeal to the everyday person? Because one thing that you just mentioned that sticks out to me is, hey, an OCR, people like, and I've heard you all say this before, OCR lost its appeal because it's the same courses. They're just doing the same events year after year after year. But the irony of that is HYROX is the exact same race. We go to Chicago Navy Pier every year. We're going to the Miami Convention Center. We're going to the same convention center in Dallas year after year. After it's the same exact thing. It's the same experiences, and it is still exploding. So what is it? I guess, and I don't know that anyone knows the answer, but why do we think psychologically this has gripped the masses the way that it has, when like people do get bored of doing other races? This almost seems to be a little bit unique to HYROX. Like, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but I've heard my good friend Cheryl Snow like make the comment of like, oh, like I just want to do something else, and she is doing other things, but she's still doing HYROXes. Like, what is it about HYROX that keeps the masses coming back when it is the same thing over and over and over?
I think that there are a lot of CrossFit athletes who liked running, but only did CrossFit because that was their option. Like they like lifting weights, but they'd rather run a little bit more than lift the weights. And now they had an option to do it. So you had an established group of athlete types at that point coming over from CrossFit. And just in general, if there's something cool that the masses are doing, like once that snowball gets going, everyone wants to do the cool thing. That happened in OCR in 2013 or 14. It
But
looked
why?
gritty.
But why still though? Because like it's the same. When we Jack, when you race Atlanta in 2 weeks, it's effectively the same thing as that 2019 Miami race, minus the sleds being 12.5 meters now instead of 25.
I can tell you why.
All right, BK, tell us.
Spartan's draw was the raw, gritty unknown. They didn't even release all the obstacles on the courses. They wouldn't release a full course map. They wanted to keep you guessing. You'd come up and be like, I have never run a ridge like this. This is incredible. You'd start dropping down into the trees. You'd be like, they expect us to run through this? I have never descended through something like this. So the unknown gritty factor, to be prepared for all facets of endurance, but be surprised by how you have to use it, is what made Spartan special. People had never felt the way they felt out on course. And then they go back to the course and it's not quite lightning in the bottle again. And then they start releasing more obstacles and they're not innovating. And people are chasing that feeling they had the first time of just like, I'm exposed, but I've never been in this place and I didn't expect this and I don't know what's going to come next. HYROX didn't ever try to do that. But what they did do is they made it quantifiable. You go back and do the same Spartan race 5 times, and even if it's the exact same course like they do now, your times aren't comparable because now the trail got beat down, or a mudslide came through, or it's hot this year and it was cold last year. So even though you run the same course, you get punished on both sides. I can't compare my times because they're not the same, but I also didn't get anything different. And so what am I even doing out here? That's how I went. HYROX gave people the ability to chase seconds and work on very specific pieces, and you could do it indoors at a gym. And the fact that you can get super OCD about this thing and bro out at the same time and do it indoor, you don't need a mountain. I believe they captured like the complete opposite lightning in the bottle. But they are like exact, like diametrically opposed in what they're actually giving people that feeling inside.
Yeah,
So you
articulated that better.
Yeah, so it's the standard.
It's the standard, and you can chase it.
And Bracken,
just quantify it.
Just think of OCR and how many people who aren't as informed, they're like, oh, I ran 4 minutes faster in my sprint this year than last year. And it's like, they like comparing times. Well, it actually matters in this sport. So I think that gives them something to year over year compare, because 99% of this, you might run 3 laps versus 4, but like, that's the only thing that's different in your HYROX. Otherwise, same order of events, same number of reps, same amount of distance running. Compare how are you fitter than last year or not?
And then the final piece is, I think people forget how big Ryan Kent was coming over from OCR. He was like top 4 or 5 biggest social media followings, but top 2 men. It's always easier for women in scantily clad sports to have a big, creepy online male following. Like their numbers get inflated a bit. Doesn't take anything away from them as an athlete, but the women had bigger followings. But on the men's side, there were only two men with, well, three, I guess, with huge online followings. And it was Hunter, it was Kent, and it was Matt Novakovic.
And
Matt never came over and probably couldn't. It wasn't his sport. But the reason Kent and Hunter had it was because they were someone a guy wanted to train like and look like. And almost nobody else was. People wanted to be like the OCR athletes performance-wise, but you don't want to look like me. That wasn't like the archetype of a man. Now this is a sport that lets you do that while training for performance. If you wanted to look like Hunter, you were going to be worse at OCR. But you get to in this sport. You get to try to have an Adonis build, and it's performance-based. And I think that's really, really important to keep people coming back to the sport, and that they don't have to choose between performance and aesthetics.
So that's interesting. So do you think that was going to be one of my questions was when did it start to feel like a sport and not an event? And are you saying that you feel like it started to feel like a sport whenever we had the Kent Hunter rivalry?
For me, that's criteria one. It felt like this is just like OCR, but heavier. This is like it's an equivalent thing, but it surpassed it when it became invite only. To me, that is the clear defining line in the sand. We always knew that there were way too many people at a Spartan start line that didn't deserve to be there, that the women are catching in 2 kilometers of running with a 10-minute head start. Like our start line where you have to earn your coin to get to Spartan race, and they only gave out 300 coins. Like you do not have 300 elite athletes. We all knew that. It was too easy to get in. HYROX becoming exclusive guaranteed that it was sought after. And to me, that's when it became a legit, tangible, respected sport.
Jack, your thoughts?
I think also just seeing Hunter's dominance for a while, I think people thought he was going to retire at one point without ever losing a race. The sport was designed for him. Hunter had the perfect frame, size, running ability. And then some athletes overseas would, pop off a good race. We didn't really know the extent of how variable courses were at the time. But I think that having that prize to chase, even from afar, whether you're in North America or Europe at that time, now Australia, obviously. But I think that having Hunter as like, I am the best, come and get me, that also elevated the profile of HYROX as a sport.
I don't think people realize that Hunter ran a 55:09. And what was it, Dallas 2022?
That was head to head against Hepner and Chandler Smith, right? That one.
Maybe. I know
No,
Dylan
this is
Scott.
the one. Yeah, I thought this was Dylan and David.
Okay.
Yeah. Would they show? They probably wouldn't show on the leaderboard, would they? Since they were running as
This is the one where he came back like 15 pounds lighter and just shredded and vascular.
Wasn't this
right?
This was after he lost to Kent in Chicago, right?
Champs.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. So this is when Hunter ran a 55:09. Dylan took second that day with a 60:03, and Rich ran a 63:35. That was your top 3 finishers from that day.
63 is third best North American racer. That won't even get you in like the elite 30 right now within the region.
Well, the 63 was still good, and it still is.
I know
good,
it's.
like,
I'm just comparing like how it is.
How far ahead
but
Hunter
was. But that's my point: is that we're talking about Charlie Bottrell running a 54:39. How insane that is! But this just goes to show, like he had it back then, and that was just on a different. We were on a different planet. Like
he was so far ahead of the game.
Yeah, so far ahead of the game. So I guess, okay. So, all right, I got a little bit off topic there. Okay. So now we've established that it started to feel like a sport. It originally was basically just the US and Europe at this point in time, really until Jack, keep me honest. When did we really start to see expansion outside of Europe? Was it 2023?
I think that's right around when James Kelly, he debuted sub 60, right?
But he did it in Birmingham.
Yeah, but he was an Australian. At that point, I can't think of. Joanna wasn't around. I don't think when I'd say like mid to late 2023. But for the first
Yeah,
4 to
let's
5
look.
years, it was North America versus way more presence in Europe. To be honest, like there were way better guys
Yeah.
depth wise.
All of these, I'm looking at 2023. So 2022, they went to Hong Kong, interestingly enough. That looks like that might have been the first race outside of Europe. Good decision by them. And then 2023, 2024, that's when we started to see, last year's when we really started to see global expansion. And then obviously this year it's huge. But they focused on the European and US markets to start. And it picked up in Europe pretty quickly. Like I said, we started seeing those UK races selling out like 2022. They were racing every weekend. We were complaining because we'd get like 4 or 5 races a year. I went to that Chicago race. My first HYROX was November of 2022. That was the Schaumburg. Wow.
Mm.
That was the Schaumburg race.
The Hamburg of the West, they say.
And as they say, the Hamburg of the West. Do you guys want to guess how many total racers there were that weekend?
So just for clarity, this is 3+ years after the debut.
Yeah, this is November. This is November 2022, Schaumburg, Illinois.
I'm gonna guess 800.
Yeah. Yeah, it was right around there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to say we go 2022, 2023. I looked it up the other day. It was 820 finishers. That's men's and women's open, men's and women's pro, men's and women's doubles, mixed doubles, and relays.
Mhm.
We had at our U.S. race in Boston. I think we had over 1,000 finishers in men's open.
Yeah. Did you see this weekend in Paris? You have pro heat starting on Wednesday. Like we're at 5-day events at this point, and we couldn't even get 820 people in the venue a few years into the sport.
Yeah,
HYROX, in hindsight, did so much right. They treated Spartan as a symbiote. Like they cannibalized everyone they could out of that. They got foothold in this market, and then they turned their attention on what they knew, which was Europe. And their biggest advantage that they're a European company is the reason Spartan could never be globally what they are is because Americans do not understand the rest of the world the way that the rest of the world does. And you don't need to understand America. America's easier to understand than Europe. Europe's too complex. There's too many nations. And so HYROX has just done it the right way. They got their foothold here, and then they showed us something better there. And now people here clamored for it. But now they are absolutely worldwide, and they're strong in every market, and they haven't franchised it out. It's not like the Hamburg event might suck because it's run by someone else and sorry, they just pay us our dues. They're doing it correctly. And I have given them so much flack for admin issues over the years, but big picture, they crushed this.
Yeah, but I want to go back to something that you said when you joked about the first race, how there was wires underneath the carpet, but then you came into the Chicago
wasn't joking,
race.
that was real.
Yeah, no, I know, but I know. But then you're talking about like you came into the second race and you were like, oh, there's something to this. And I do have to give them credit where credit's due. We are very hard on them, but that has been a theme for the last 8 years now, that the next event is always better. Even that is still true today. When we went to Boston, it was the best venue in the US that I've ever been to. Everything was like thought about, like even from the way that you enter in, the escalators, like they are continually getting better. And when they get something wrong, like actually, I think I have faith in them now that like, it's not a problem. They'll fix it. It will be fixed. Like I'm even thinking about, because one of the things that's helped them, that's helped HYROX rise is if you go back and watch the old races that were streamed, like we're not that far removed from when we used to, for big races, we'd have people that would like run around and faux rabbit the races, or Graham literally to try to build up the following. Graham would run around behind Hunter and Kent and Dylan on the HYROX America social account. And I think they picked up on that. Like, oh, people are tuning in. Like we used to have 300 or 400 people, 500 people tuning into a live stream on an iPhone, just following them on the runs, and like Graham giving commentary on like where people are at. And like, then that turned into, now they're very strict and they maintain the media. But like those first few like championships that they streamed were awful. And now it's like, it's great zone 2 watching. You just put that on YouTube while you're running and like watching the races back. Like, it's quality, and they've got replays, and you've got the stats now. And like, even some of the things they've introduced, like, remember, we didn't used to, no one had any clue where they were at on the ergs. Now they're plugged in right away. And like, we could see where they're at. We could see that the pace that they're pulling, like, that's made a huge difference.
Yeah. People like us were frustrated from the start because we didn't have a pipeline of communication with them the way we may have had with OCR, but they listen better than OCR ever did. And they care about making it better and trying to scale, where OCR kind of just felt like always a cash grab or a passion project. You rarely had the two could do both. But HYROX just did it correctly. And they didn't listen in the way we may have wanted to with qualification systems and things like that, but they listen and they improve, and they steadily improve. I don't think anyone could debate that it's not better every year. And when they've had their issues like course flow issues or water stations or people waiting on course, we suddenly stopped hearing about it really quickly. It was like a thing. We heard it for like 4 or 5 straight events between US or Europe. Like, there was a 15-minute wait here. And then you don't hear it as much anymore because they're addressing it.
Yeah, they had waiting for like lunges in Toronto or something. I remember that.
Wall balls.
Or wall balls. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. It
So
is remarkable coverage wise, though, Matt. We basically went from silent film or black and white TV quality to modern day streaming within 2 to 3 seasons. It's remarkable, the improvements that have taken place, and I think a lot of it is because they're listening to what people want and taking from what's worked in other competitive sports and endurance sports and just applying it to HYROX.
Yeah, I think the other thing that they did that was really smart, that I can at least speak to a little bit, is and I think they did a really good job of like the common man aspect of getting into it. Like, I mean, there's so many people in North America that owe their racing to Lauren Rantala and Mark Howe, right? And it was that people aspect, the community aspect of getting them in, and they did a really good job of establishing. It's different than like the affiliates, the way that DECA does it, as an example, where they can host races, but they did a really good job of getting into gyms and getting codes out there and using ambassadors to get their friends signed up. Like, I'm not at all saying that like I'm the reason why HYROX blew up in Milwaukee. But like, I remember when I raced that first race in 2022, I raced with a buddy at a gym. His name was Marquise, my wife, and then another coach named Katie. And then after we raced, we all had at least 1 or 2 friends that wanted to try it. And it was all off of this thing. And we had codes that we could hand out and get people. And then it was like, okay, now all of a sudden, like, you race and then you bring 2 friends. And then those 2 friends bring friends. And I think that that's why we saw it's like expand a little bit slower. But what part of the reason why it's hit critical mass is not because of me. It's not what I'm saying, but because of people like me all across the country. Have you had this like 2-pronged approach of, we're going to let Hunter and Kent and others bring in the pros, and then also influence their following of just everyday athletes to do it. But then the everyday athletes at all the gyms, they're going to bring people in. Right. And so it's like you're building at the top and then you're filling in from the bottom and like bringing all these people along. And then next thing you know, like, it's exploding.
Yeah. And I don't want to overlook the importance that the female competition has had on its growth and legitimacy as a sport, because we thought it was going to be like OCR, where it was always 3 to 5 years behind. Women's side, 3 to 5 years behind the men. And they caught up so quickly. And then Lauren and Meg deserve so much recognition, along with the European women who paved the way, and the not the also rans, but the chase group has been steady this whole time. But Lauren and Meg's battles and world records back and forth, and getting sub 60 was just so important for the legitimacy as a sport. Because CrossFit had female icons, multiple, and there was always someone to follow. And OCR had a few, and then it dropped way off. And in its heyday, it had 5 to 7 that people could really choose which team they were on. And HYROX has that, but they have these 2 titans at the top, and now they're joined by others. But the female rise of not just being there, but also being something that is aspirational was really, really huge in this, because both sides of the coin are now equally adept at this sport. And people want to be them just as bad as the men want to be like the top men.
To add on
I
to
mean-
that, just think like Lauren, what she did when she was pregnant. I think that is probably on the Mount Rushmore of most impressive or most pivotal HYROX moments of all time. It showed, like, on the surface, HYROX is a very intimidating event. But if someone 8 months into her pregnancy can complete this and still beat people, yes, she's a freak of nature in terms of athletic ability, but like, you really can get this done if you want to. And I think that having figures like Lauren and Meg, also a mom, and just Amy Bevilacqua doing what she's doing her 50, it's not a one-sided storyline for either gender at the top. And I think that that's been very important.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think that the depth of the field for the men has been a little bit deeper for longer, but it wasn't that exciting at the top. Like,
Yeah.
for those of you that have just gotten into HYROX, we've obviously talked about this a little bit, but Hunter was dominant up until basically, well, I guess it really would have been, he was effectively dominant up until Nice. Like, he's a 2-time champion. He retired because he was going to do the paddleboarding thing. And then he came back and he did that, Macho Man Hunter video, and only the way that Hunter can do. And he's running up a mountain. He's running up the side of a cliff. And he's like, I got good news, bad news. Good news, I'm coming back. Bad news from all my competitors. That means I'm going to win the world title. And everyone was like, oh, shit, here he comes. And then he smacked everybody at Manchester, and the race was over by sled push. And then he came out in Stockholm that winter. I think it was December of 2023. And he set the world record with like a 53 low. And everybody was like, this dude is not going to get touched. He's not going to get touched. And then it's only in the last like 18 months that now it's a battle, and there's other people that you have to watch out for. But all along, while that's happening, is what Bracken is talking about, where Meg Jacoby came along, and then Michaela came along, and we had real battles at the top. You did not know in those races, if Hunter was at the start line, you were picking Hunter unanimously on Race Brain. But there was a period of time where you couldn't go wrong if you pick. It was basically a coin flip, a 3-sided coin flip between Michaela, Meg, and Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. That made those women's races were almost more exciting.
Well, they were
more exciting.
They all became dogs as a result.
Yeah.
They could all race in any style, and then their championship races became better than the men's often early on. And then now they all can handle any type of race you put them in. For a while, like, suddenly Hunter was struggling. Like, if he couldn't be in the lead after burpee broad jumps, it was over. And these women were in so many different types of races and losing, but winning, and then setting world records, that I think they were just more well-rounded at the top than the men were. And we didn't see singular dominance. We still don't know who the GOAT in female HYROX is. We were ready to crown her, but she hadn't been crowned.
I'm still ready to crown her.
Yeah, we all are, right? But it's not definitive. And for a long time, it was just Hunter and everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, if Meg comes back and wins, the conversation's right open again. If Tim wins again this year, that's not a conversation yet.
Yeah. All right. A couple more topics and we'll get out of here. One thing that's interesting to me that I'd be curious to get your all's take on, and we could probably do a whole episode on this, but what we won't. The one thing that's really interesting to me is that we're 8 years into this. Does anyone really know how to train for HYROX, Jack, BK?
Like, talk maybe talk year, right?
Yeah, maybe talk about what you thought versus then what you thought after that versus maybe what you think now and how many times you've gone back to what you thought originally. Because I don't think anyone actually knows, and anyone who says that they do, they may know what works for them.
You
but we
stealing
still
my
don't know.
material here, Matt Mason?
We still don't know.
I did a
I think
podcast a year ago that I said that exact phrase. Anyone who claims they know what they're doing, like knows this is best, is either delusional or they only know what works for them right now. Because we have seen every system of training become in vogue at some point. And the reality is that HYROX is not confined to a pre-existing races box. And as a result, the training has to be training for HYROX. We've seen people try to train for other things with a HYROX emphasis, and it works up until it doesn't. We haven't yet seen someone perfect it. We've seen people who are very good at it, but it is a moving target, and it started out as OCR heavy. And then it has progressed all the way to where, I mean, certainly now we have more people that comprehend how to train well for HYROX than ever before, but it's still an evolution.
But even at the elite level, I think there's differing opinions. Like we've got some people who train HYROX basically all year long. And then we've got some people who do traditional running work with strength work. And then they add in specificity 6 weeks out. Like everyone is doing it slightly differently, I guess. And this looking at your crystal ball, how long do you think it'll take before there's an accepted, this is the best way to train? Because we're coming up on 10 years and we still don't know.
Well, I don't think the first 3 years count towards our body of work of training for it.
That's fair.
Everyone was self-trained.
Back then it was like I'm fit and I'm stronger than most OCR athletes, or I had a little bit of CrossFit. So you're like, that'll carry me over, but it didn't. That was all that the first few years were.
Now, I was never anything in this sport, but in my second race, I contended for a podium up through wall balls. I went back and forth with third place all the way through wall balls. Missed it by a few seconds, took fourth place. The work I did leading up to that race is so obsolete in today's sport. And I was a full-time coach at that time. That work was so obsolete. And at that point, in the sport of HYROX, I have to think I was one of the most well-read coaches on the vast majority of endurance training systems with a secondary, like a minor in strength training. And the work I did there is laughable. AI would beat it right now, and it wouldn't even be close. So it has just progressed so much. I do believe right now, any top 15 athlete in the world could take probably 3/4 of any other of the athletes and take their training plan and still be an elite 15 athlete off of it. I think the training is, I think 10 out of the 15 athletes in the elite 15, their training is smart and sound enough that anyone else could get by on it just fine. But we have not yet come to a conclusion as a community how to train for the sport.
Jack, any thoughts?
I was just going to say, we've seen world champions run 15 miles a week and 60 plus miles a week. That it doesn't matter. It's what works for you is what it seems. But I do think eventually we're going to kind of narrow down.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're either going to take path A or path B if you can handle more running volume versus not. But I totally agree. It's changed a ton over the past few years, specifically, even as depth has kind of increased. You'd think that it's like, okay, everyone's doing the same thing. I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach yet.
No, it'll get there. And it will get there when the running becomes as fast as it's getting at the top across the board. When we see people are running 3:30s or under every single lap or every single run, at that point, we'll have gotten to a point where the demands of being able to handle that cardiovascularly will dictate that people are now probably like with a confidence level of like 80% shared training at that point, which I think is like what triathlon would have. Other mixed modality sports where they all run about the same amount, they bike about the same. There's more variance in the swim, and that'll be our strength training, right? But we'll get to the point where there's like 80% shared training within, I would say, 3 years. Because it's going to get that fast within 2 to 3 years.
And the other big change that I think we've seen is just youth. We're coming from OCR where we had 3 or 4 straight years where the world champion was 39 years old.
Yeah.
And early days of HYROX, you had mid-30s. I think Lauren's mid-30s, Hunter's 36 or something. Kent's turning 40 next year. Like some of the best in the sport in the early days could succeed in their mid to late 30s. But I think that we're reaching the point. You talked about Charlie Bottrill and several others in the women's field are 22, 23 years old. It's gonna be very tough for the older athletes to hang on, and it's gonna sound like you're watching an NFL broadcast pretty soon when they're like, "What he's doing at age 32 is crazy." Like it's scary, but that's the direction it's heading.
It is.
Yeah, I think was going to be a question I was going to ask is, do we think we're in the golden age or is the golden age yet to come? And I think that the answer is, I think the golden age is yet to come. I think that we haven't seen the top end of what athletes are capable of yet. And also, we can't talk about the rise of HYROX without talking about the rise of commercialization and media and sponsorships. I mean, you think about like the official, some of my, this is relevant to me right now because I'm packing up all of my belongings, looking at just like the quality of the merch. I know this like sounds funny, but like some of my first stuff is Virus, and like those t-shirts are faded and they were just white cotton t-shirts that were screen printed on. Like they're nasty, they're gross. I should just get rid of them. The print is already coming off. And the stuff that that Puma is putting out now is quality. And like that, I know that like that stuff like seems silly, but like that matters, right? Like the Puma, you know, it turns out that they just created a nice shoe that happens to work for HYROX, but like those Puma Deviates, like that, those are sick shoes. And like they're doing all of these things that are starting to like make it feel more legitimate. Like it's like something that you're like proud to represent and wear. And like the freaking, even like the hoodies that they produce. Like I know like it sounds silly, but like people love merch, and like you can tell that stuff, like the bigger the sponsors get, the nicer the things become, and the nicer the things become, the more that people want to participate.
It's the first iteration of any version of sport that we've been associated with in the endurance world that is just, I would say like 99% universally cool. Like you'll still get made fun of by influencers online from time to time, like some power lifters, some CrossFitters, whatever, will still make fun of it, but they're the outliers. It's now just like you wear your HYROX merch and people be like, "Oh, you've done a HYROX, cool." It's not like, what's a Spartan race? Well, it's like a Tough Mudder, but like HYROX is its own entity and it's a cool entity. They have captured the cool, desirable factor, and their sponsors reflect that. I think a company is only as strong as its partnerships, and theirs is undeniably good.
I have not had to say that HYROX is pretty much CrossFit with running anymore. That's kind of the general overview that I did earlier. CrossFit light with running.
That's a good
Now
point.
it's like, oh, I do HYROX.
Everybody knows. Yeah, we're getting made fun of now, and that's how you know that we've. I know it sounds funny, but that's how you know we've reached critical mass. Is like if you make fun of the thing that you're threatened by.
I had
like,
my daughter's principal come up to me the other day. He's like, "Hey, I saw you had a HYROX shirt on yesterday. Was that a recent one you did or in the past?" I was like, "I know you don't know the sport because you don't know that I haven't done anything in years, right? Which means you're outside the realm and you know what HYROX is, and you came up and asked me about it."
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like in the past, only OCR people would talk about it. People, it's just like common vernacular.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's funny, but like, my 8-year-old nephew, who's got no business knowing anything, literally mentioned that he like ran across one of our clips on YouTube. Like,
oh
yeah, big time, baby, big
Shout
time.
out. Share that with
Yeah. It's here. We're here to stay. We're here to stay.
Yeah.
All right, gang. We're coming up on 5:30. I think we did it. Any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't mention that we should have?
It's just impressive what's happened. Like we kind of went over it in this episode. I definitely thought it was going to be a flash in the pan, as Bracken described. And they take critiques well. They listen to athletes. They listen to fans. And as a result, that's why they're in the position they're at right now. And I do not see it slowing down anytime soon.
And for anyone in the comments saying we're just blowing hot air, go back and listen to our other episodes. We we have our negative moments about this, but big picture, this thing's a home run.
Yeah, there's no way they're ever going to listen to the show, but if they do, Christian, Mo, Mintra, y'all built an incredible company, one that we're thankful for, and it's fun to watch. And like, yeah, there's always going to be tough moments, but I think that's the other thing too is like we only call these things out because we care.
Right.
You know, I can't think of anything else that I've spent this much money on as an adult.
Yeah. We don't usually have the same complaints one season after another. So something new pops up, but it's been most of the previous issues have been corrected or at least addressed. And of course, they're not going to solve it exactly how us talking heads want it to be solved, but like they listen, changes are made, a few new things pop up. Like I'm sure whatever we're complaining about with penalty boxes this year, they're going to figure it out next year and it'll probably be a little bit more reasonable. And I think that trend's just going to continue.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, actually, that's something that we didn't even talk about, that like before it was kind of all done in secrecy. Now they've got this whole athlete council, like athlete and coaches council that they listen to. Like they're going to make this thing big.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I do have one super quick last thing. I mentioned sled, the 25-meter sled was the biggest game changer. I actually think that maybe the hunter hop burpees could have been the single biggest game changer to change the trajectory, because that right there, Hunter was suddenly beatable once you took away that advantage, and other athletes couldn't make up as much time either on burpees. So there've been a couple movement standards. I feel like wall balls, top of the end of the sport, everyone's figured that out. Everyone knows how to row and ski, and you know it's just a couple fine little edits that people need to
bring back the hunter hop. I want to see athletes being athletic.
That's right. Make it the enhanced games of burpees. That's what we want.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
Yep.
All right, squad. Let us know in the comments what we got right. Let us know what we got wrong. What do you think were some of the biggest things that we missed out on? What did we get right? As always, we appreciate the love. Like and subscribe to the YouTube. Like the Spotify. Subscribe to the drop. My boy Marcus is still cooking. He's out here cooking. All right, boys. We did it. Peace.